Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is Knack. We do have live tournament action coming at you right now. It is on MLG's dual site. It's that same round here, different players. And guess what? It is going to be a PvZ. Interesting. We see a lot of similar matches tonight. I haven't seen not one single Terran. In fact, I don't even know if any checked in. In fact, I'll go check right now. Might as well. What do we say? Yeah, we had a couple check in. Let's just check and see what we've got for remaining players. We've got 2 remaining Terran players in this tournament, so we do have some potential to eventually see a Terran player. Let's hope that we are going to see one. And it is going to be CocoaKrispie here. Now, we saw CocoaKrispie last week. He did a great job. And kbscores, though, is a new player to me. I have not seen kbscores play ever. CocoaKrispie is going to be our yellow Zerg. He's over here on the right side of the map. On the left, it is kbscores. He is pink. He is Protoss. And going to be sending out a probe and sending him back. Wonder what he's doing here. Going to be a standard opener, it appears. Looks like he's going to go for a wall off there. Whoops. Messed that up pretty good. Looks like our spawning pool did go down here for CocoaKrispie in fairly decent time. Good fast spawning pool from Coco. And we'll see what he's going to do here. It looks like he may potentially go for a Zergling type of opener. I don't know. I don't know. It just looks like it's pretty standard. What can we say? But kbscores is going to be working on his gateway here. No gas from him quite yet. Units tab going to show that he's somehow way behind in that probe count. So, I don't know, maybe he missed that. I guess we probably should have been paying a little bit better attention to his Nexus. Yeah, see, he's missing his probes. Oh, this, uh-oh. Okay, so kbscores having a little bit of trouble here. He's missing his probe production here, and that is not a good deal. I don't think CocoaKrispie going to let him get away with this. Notice that CocoaKrispie going to be going ahead and tossing down his expand. In fairly decent time there. This is a good opener here from CocoaKrispie, especially considering the poor opener here from Scores. Scores tossing down a Forge next. Now, I mean, there are situations, I guess, where you go Forge second. I just can't think of any of them offhand. So I don't necessarily like this play at all. But, I mean, if you're going to toss down an early Forge, you either need to be expanding, taking a Forge fast expand, or trying to cannon your opponent's natural against your Zerg players. Unless he's going to go for, I don't know, some kind of crazy super fast +1 push. I don't know. Doesn't look like it, though, because the timings are way the heck off, as well as he is just not producing the correct amount of probes here. And he's taking a second gas when, oh, man. And there goes some Chrono on the Nexus. I think that's what he needs at this point. But, yeah, this is a pretty sloppy opener here from kbscores. We hope that he'll come watch this. My best advice for Scores is to go and just go to like Team Liquid and just read up on a couple Protoss builds, some standard Protoss builds, and start practicing those initial timings. You want to make them snappy, crisp, get them going super fast, and that is really going to serve you well. Notice he's going to go ahead and toss down a photon cannon here for some defense. But in the meantime, CocoaKrispie gearing up to have this expand up and running. Now, he's let his drone production slip just a little bit. He is going to go ahead and transfer some drones out here, though, as well as a queen. You can see some inject larvae there, but there he goes. He's producing drones. He had just a nice round of drones pop in there. Seems to be in pretty good shape. And CocoaKrispie going to be tossing down 3 gates here. Is Chrono boosting out some sentries, as well as Chrono boosting out his warp gate tech. Needs to be producing probes, though. Oh, my goodness. So just as a rule of thumb, you don't want to stop probe production ever, unless you have a specific build in mind where you need to stop probe production. Until you get into the mid game and stuff like that, and then it just depends. You've got to play it by ear, but you need to know how to do that. But early game like this, before the 7 and 8 minute mark, there's absolutely no reason to be cutting probes unless it's build specific. So that was a good force field there, keeping those guys out of his base. But you'd rather have these guys come up the ramp than stay down. You want them to come up because you've got a photon cannon here. The photon cannon going to annihilate them. It's a different story if you see like 30 Zerglings or something like that. But when there's only like 1 or 2, go ahead and let them come up the ramp. You just rather pick up the kills. They're not going to get tons of scouting information in, so No reason to block them off there. Just kind of a little small piece of advice there. Looks like a spine crawler going to be going down for CocoaKrispie. Units tab going to show 31 drones for CocoaKrispie, 20 probes for kbscores. kbscores not in terrible position here, but he does have to be careful. Notice he's going to grab a Twilight Council as well as a robotics here off one base. So a lot of tech off one base. He's got a forge, he's got a Twilight Council, he's got a robotics and triple gates. It's a lot of structures for just the one base. We do have some scouting overlord cruising in here. He is going to get sniped here, but not before he does catch wind of the Twilight Council. Let's just check his vision. Whoops. Yeah, his vision shows that he did see the Twilight Council, and if he did click this building, he would have seen a robotics as well. So hopefully he was clicking that. But regardless, he did see that Twilight Council, so should know the potential of what is headed his way. We could see some DTs here. I'm kind of feeling like kbscores may go for something like that, but he's not using it yet, so I don't know. Don't see anything from this Twilight Council quite yet. Looks like we're going to be working on an observer, though. The observer going to be queued out across the map. So, I don't know. kbscores, I think, struggling with his build order right here. He's going to be now just barely working on weapons level 1. And going to be cruising out across the map with a small force. Back here at CocoaKrispie's base, we do have a couple spine crawlers going down as well as a spore crawler. See a smart move there. I think he saw the Twilight Council, tossed down a spore crawler just in case his opponent does go DTs. It's a really, really smart play there. Looks like he is going to be sending out some Zerglings trying to figure out what's going on. And kbscores not moving out across the map. He's just going to take kind of a forwardish position. Got to keep these units together. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. There they go. They're headed back. They're headed back. kbscores does need to be super careful here. He's going to have to play defensively, I think, at this point. Especially since he just doesn't really have the economy he needs to combat right now. Because look at that. CocoaKrispie up to 40 drones right now. Doing a phenomenal job there with his economy. kbscores down at 22. Needs to consider taking another base here. It is 10 minutes, almost 10.5 minutes in, and no expansion, and no push, and no aggression, and pretty much nothing from kbscores quite yet. Now, he does have a fairly decent couple units here, but not going to be good enough against this massive roaches and lings here for CocoaKrispie. Notice the supply count here. CocoaKrispie really going way ahead at this point. Going to go for an attack. It appears sending out his speedlings and roaches going to be shortly behind. Probably going to see him start streaming some units that direction. I think he feels like he probably can take this down momentarily. And I don't disagree with him. It will come down to micro. I mean, if with good force fields here, kbscores should be okay. He's going to supply... no, that didn't supply block his opponent. Didn't supply block. But he did take out an observer. Not observer, what do you call those guys? Overseer. Taking that out. kbscores in not terrible position, but he's way behind economically. His army size is almost the same, though. So, I mean, this engagement could go in favor of kbscores, but right now CocoaKrispie just kicking it here in the center of the map. He is now supply blocked. He's been losing a couple of his OVs. Got to keep those guys alive where possible. And no new units out on the field. We need to see some more units being made here. We got a macro hatch going up for CocoaKrispie. Just now completing in his main. He's grabbing an infestation pit. Does have a forward position here with his units. Looks like it could be go time here just about any moment. Notice that kbscores is going to go ahead and grab this Nexus. It is late. It is 12.5 minutes in. That's alright, though. What can you do? What can you do? It's not terrible play from kbscores. There's just some small refinements, some refinements on his build order, and a few tips that you just need to have kind of running for you all the time. Uh-oh. CocoaKrispie sacrificing a bunch of lings to gather some intel. Does see a heck of a lot of units there. But he is going to be massing up more units here. In the center of the map, he's got a couple infestors on the way. He had 5 in production there just a moment ago. A couple of them have popped there, headed out across the map. Units tab showing 44, now 43 drones for CocoaKrispie, 24 for kbscores on that harvester count. Man, Don't know. This economy is brutal low. Brutal low. I mean, he doesn't even have his main really saturated when it comes down to it. It's not fully saturated, I guess. Pretty close, but not quite, and he's taking that second base extremely late. Going to be tossing down photon cannons here back behind his mineral line. Pretty unnecessary, I think, at this point. They'd do better out here at the front because, well, I guess it's partially because he hasn't been scouting, but you've really got to scout those units or scout what's going on, and you don't need those back there right now. So here comes your engage. Looks like CocoaKrispie should be in fairly decent shape. A couple force fields are going to be going down. Looks like those fungals, not too bad. Spending up that energy. These guys have, this guy's got a little bit of extra energy. Good fungal going down there yet again for CocoaKrispie. CocoaKrispie should be able to clean this up. Way too many roaches still alive out on the field. They do have +1 carapace complete. Going to make them super buff. Going to be taking down this Nexus, and it is about to be GG here, I think, for kbscores. It just comes down to no economy here for kbscores. And CocoaKrispie just going to take advantage of that. I mean, at this point, there's no reason why he shouldn't be able to take this down. 152 supply to 25 is an ouch type of feeling. Makes you feel like getting a spinal tap or something like that. But CocoaKrispie is just going to pull the trigger here. We just see one force field going down there. Not going to have enough energy for another unless he warps in a couple more sentries, but no more sentries are on the way. He should have warped in 1 sentry. He had enough gas to do it, so he could block that ramp, but you know what? It would just be delaying the inevitable. There goes one right there. So we are going to see one more force field. Burrow being utilized. Force fields no matter. Good stuff there from CocoaKrispie. And Roach is now all in the base. They are going to be annihilating this entire front door. And kbscores is going to lose this. CocoaKrispie will be advancing to a semifinal match. This has been phenomenal play from CocoaKrispie. kbscores, I mean, not too bad. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I'm not disimpressed. I'm not angry with you. But there are a couple things that you need to remember. Always, always keep your probe production in line. You need to know how many buildings you can support off of how much base. So you've got one base, you've got a lot of buildings here to try and support with that forge, or robotics, and the Twilight Council. Usually off one base you want to pick just one tech pattern. That was 4 or 3 tech patterns when it comes down to it. So you got to be kind of careful there. But there's your GG from kbscores. Great play there from CocoaKrispie. We'll be checking out a semifinal match here momentarily, so don't alt-tab, always alt-StarCraft. We'll see you guys then.